these organizations, so you may or may not have things. While they're reading that, what I have passed out to the board is a petition of recall. And I'm asking that this board recall the entire RCD board, myself included. We are dysfunctional. We have got completely off track. We're not doing RCD business. And now we are lying and saying things that are incorrect to different people. I'll go through the issues as we get into it. But in a nutshell, I want you guys to understand, my premise of this recall, and there wasn't time, and this is based upon the premise of recalls of elected people. To be honest with you, nobody knows how to recall appointed people that are appointed in lieu of an election. And so I took it upon myself to follow the recall guidelines, and since I couldn't get to the magic number that Julie Bustamante explained to me of how a recall has to work, and for everybody's interest, that's the number of registered voters, the percentage of registered voters in the last general election, which for Lassen County was 47%. Okay? 10% of those have to sign a recall petition for a recall to go forward. Not having time to run around and find that, and realizing that the RCD basically is representing the agricultural community, what I did was say, how many farms and ranches are there in Lassen County, to start with a number. So I went to the Lassen County assessor on those people and found out how many people are assessed as their, you guys can get me on the terms, but it's on their agricultural equipment. There are 255. So using the same criteria that Julie Bustamante explained to me, by doing the 47% and then 10%, it turns out that all I needed was 12 ranches. And that's what I went for ranches. This is not a petition of people. And if you notice on that petition, there's a little star off to the left side. That's the ones that were assessed by the county. So those are the ones that would count to the 12. I do believe I have 14 ranches represented here, and some other people who are ranchers and farmers that go along with this petition. On the petition, there's another big change from a normal petition of recall. Normally with a recall, you're firing the person, or trying to fire the person that's being recalled. This does not do that. What I have proposed here is that we're all recalled, we all apply, we start all over again with a clean slate, and come in as a new board. In other words, anybody on the board can apply, as well as people on outside the board. The whole purpose of this is the entire focus of the election or appointment would be on RCD issues. Gentlemen, I contacted, for different reasons, the California RCD, LAFCO, John Benet, or Benoit, and small district associations. The minute I told them where I was from, they already knew about all our problems. And their first thing is, you guys have one problem. Put an adjective in there, if you will. And we really don't know how to fix it. So when I went through this petition thing, I went back to them all and said, hey, since you and every one of those people are very familiar with RCDs, I said, would you put a person up here to screen the candidates for the Board of Supervisors and make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors? And I got a commitment, all but from LAFCO. LAFCO thought it was a conflict of interest. but totally agreed with what I was proposing and gave me the name of a man up in Modoc County, George Shea, maybe some of you know him, who we felt would gladly come down and be part of that committee. But my entire purpose here is we are broke, folks. We are broke entirely. And this is Cabote's recommendation to you on how to fix it. My wife said I shouldn't say this, but it's also an opportunity for you to get rid of me. So, put that in there too. I knew you'd say that, Mom. But why do you think I'm having this stuff? All right. I can tell you, in the last 2 months, and I've already turned in the paperwork asking for an investigation on Brown Act investigation on 3 members of the board. 1 member of the board, conflict of interest. I have not pursued that, but I'm going to pursue it. So we have a board member who is dealing in issues basically from LIC that has a conflict with LIC. We had an issue on a contract. Many of you may have heard about it in the paper. And I completed that investigation yesterday, and unfortunately I proved nothing. But we have the, what is the word, the perception. And sometimes perception can be reality. The perception on this whole contract thing that took place is that somebody got into our computer, manipulated a contract that got picked up, and when we were extending the Watermaster's contract, picked up this erroneous one with some errors in it that made it look like the contractor had made those changes. Then we were called on that, myself included, how I was manipulating something of extending a bogus contract. That got thrown out. Well, we quickly had a special meeting of the board to resolve this issue of this contract and correct it because it had been signed by the chairman of the board and what have you. When that ended, we had that meeting. Nobody took issue with what had been done. To be honest with you folks, somebody should have stood up and said, what in the hell is going on? They all wanted to fix the contract. And those who wanted it fixed didn't say anything. But the people who had heartburn about the Watermaster, or Deputy Watermaster in this case, said nothing. We corrected the contract, which put the thing back to where there was not 30 days notice. Somebody had added in 30 days. And a severance pay. Contracts corrected where it could be terminated immediately. Next meeting, in violation of the grand jury recommendation, it got proposed, got on the agenda, and the first thing out of one of our board's mouth, I propose we terminate the contract. It was seconded, and 3 of the board members voted to terminate the Watermaster 5 days before irrigation season. Something is wrong, guys. I'm just telling you. Then we get into, so the question gets asked, well, why are we terminating the Deputy Watermaster in this case? Can't tell you. No, that's not appropriate at this meeting. But one of the board members, when asked specifically on the side, says, well, why? What happened in closed session? Well, we've been having closed sessions over this litigation of the lawsuit we're going through. I'm sitting there saying, huh? I don't remember anything about that. So I went to the secretary and said, did I miss something? She never heard nothing about it. So I went to the lawyer that we have that represents us, who was at those closed sessions, and I asked him. I said, did I miss something at these meetings? No, there was never any mention about termination or cause that happened in closed session. I think it's appropriate that I can tell you what didn't happen in closed session. That's what I'm telling you. Okay, The other part of that, when he was terminated, now it were 5 days before the irrigation season, I was at a loss, and most of you might have heard me on the radio or in the news. What the hell's going on? Who do we have in mind to fix this? Come to find out, the chairman, and he's sitting back there, he called a special meeting so we can fix it. I called him up. He says, "We got somebody in mind?" "No, but Larry, I know we have to fix it." How did we get here? Come to having a meeting? There was no plan to fix it. Here we have 3 board members firing the most critical things in the Water Master Service. We go into the irrigation season without a water master and no plan to fix it. That's total ineptness, folks. Then at the meeting, we're going to try to get it fixed. Somebody brought in an engineering firm, Dyer Engineering. They said, we didn't touch it with a 10-foot pole when it got right down to it. So we get into what are we going to do? And there was discussions of just reinstating, which I was for. I mean, if we could fire him on a moment's notice today, why can't we fire him on a moment's notice when we have somebody to replace him? After much argument, much time, we finally got down to the only thing acceptable to the board that got voted on was 30 days. And the water master, or our deputy, made it very clear that he was only doing it for the good of the users, knowing that it had already went to chaos, folks. Here we were March 2nd, and already our irrigation and stock water was all screwed up. All right.
Mind her up, Larry.
Okay. Anyway, folks, you've only got a third of my list. I will go into many other things. I want to leave you with one of the most important is somebody brought out the code. The water code makes it very clear, and I guess I need to be telling my fellow board members that if you hurt somebody as water master, you hurt the users, you are now liable and it can go before the Superior Court. That's what's taking place as quick as we can do it as a water user. It's grounds for an injunction, and the grounds for the injunction is we were all hurt. We were in absolute chaos, and it took 2 to 3 days after for the deputy water master to get us back into where we had our water where it needed to be. At the end of the 30 days, I still don't know what's going to happen. I don't know of any plan to fix it. So we are, as a board, totally liable of what happened there to the Superior Court, because we're calling ourselves the water master, and we made the decision. Even though I voted no, I am part of the board, and that's where it all took place. So, I'm asking you that with the advertisement of our single position, and I guess to close it out, Bob, my biggest frustration was to come before you and say, hey, I want you to fill that position, because if this board fills the position, we're going to get a fourth like the other 3. All right? Strictly around water master and those problems. So, that's why I'm asking you, recall all of us. We will all apply, and may the best people win, and we get 5 good people who really want to fix the RCD and get it going forward. And get the water master service, if not clear off the table, at least clear back to the back burner, like in the grand jury letter and report.
Question. On your petition for recall, who collected those?
Myself, Mike Bartley, Barbara Howe, John Manley.
On the back page,
Where you saw your name.
yeah, what's that about? I didn't see that.
Somebody wrote that on that particular page. I apologize, Bob. Has nothing to do with nothing. I asked, I said, well, is this Bob? No, that's through our supervisor.
Well, I mean, it don't make sense. It's got a name of representative, Claude Neely, signature of Representative Bob Pyle. If they're trying to compute, I don't know, but to me that validates it. I mean,
I thought it was not, Bob, it was not there for that reason. It was put there as who was the representative, and he scribbled that on, and I forgot to take it off.
signature of representative. I did not sign it.
I know that. And it was not intended for that line to be counted in any way, shape, or form, Bob.
Okay.
I apologize for that.
Question for Lassen?
No, I have one last thing.
You got one last? Okay.
One last thing. Before all this took place, we were trying, yours truly, to get the RCD fixed. I was working with California, or with Lori Kippen, to be honest, to come in. She was analyzing to try to get us focused. We turned around, and in all this process, I got in contact with the California RCD. I can't remember, Karen Burr, I think was the last name. Anyway, she has volunteered with her and Lori on March 26th. We'll be putting on a PowerPoint presentation down at our office on what RCDs can and should and ought to be doing. I would like to also recommend that when you guys put out the ad, and I hope for all 5 board members, that we encourage anybody who's interested in being on the RCD to attend that. Because we'd like to get people who either attend that or have attended in the past the California RCD training. Should be the kinds of people you're looking for to appoint to this board. And I want to personally invite the 5 of you. I don't know if you can all attend a particular meeting, but as to, especially those that have not been around RCDs, to gain the knowledge of what RCDs can and should be doing. With that, now,
Thank you, Larry.
Question?
sure.
Yes. Mr. Capote, I looked at the document you presented, and thank you for a copy. One in particular I was noting is coined at the top, petition for recall. And my question to you, sir, is do you believe that by giving us a copy of this petition for recall today, you're fulfilling some legal step in the legal process associated with recalling persons that serve on boards?
I fully expected you to take exception to it, Bob.
No, I'm not taking exception. I'm just asking.
But yes, I am. I am looking at this as, hey, here is at least the minimum number of ag people. And like I said, I apologize, Bob, and he was not counted for that line. But that say, hey, there is a problem with this RCD board. It needs to be re-looked at. And maybe all 4 members would end up right back on it. But the whole focus would be around RCD and not Watermaster.
And so I want to follow up the question with a comment to my chairman, and that is that I do not believe at this time that this document, or I think there was another petition for recall document, even remotely comes close to the legal requirements associated with the petition for recall within the meaning of recalls of sitting government officials that serve either on special districts, resource conservation districts, or boards of supervisors for that matter. I don't think it even comes close to that. More to the point, I don't think we're the body that would serve for that purpose. I am not aware of any provision in the Public Resources Code or the Government Code that this board has the authority, but again, only because we've been asked to by the RCD to appoint to fill vacancies. I'm not aware of any provision that says we can then unappoint. Well, I'm not aware of any. If you have one, please educate me. I'd like to know.
All right. And I have okay, Bob. I will try to answer your question.
Okay, thank you.
I went to LAFCO on this, and I got the same, we don't know how to do it. And I guess I'm saying to you, I cannot find anything that says you can't do it. And I guess that's my direction to you. Because you guys are appointing in lieu of elections. If you look at our handbook, we are supposed to be elected. We have looked at that. The cost is prohibitive. So in lieu of that, the state legislature gave us the authority to go to you to make the appointment. Okay? When we got into that thing, nobody knew how to recall a appointed in lieu of election individual. So I guess all I'm trying to say to the board here is it is broken. There's a whole bunch of legal stuff and I didn't get through my list, that says our board is totally broke. And maybe I'm part of the problem. You know, I'm not going to deny that. It is broke. There's no trust. An RCD board, Mr. Iron, you've been on an RCD if I remember. They should be working cooperatively for the good of agriculture. We're not an adversarial group. Yes, there can be some adversary that should we be doing this thing good or that thing good. But it should be a team effort trying to make things happen, going forward for the good of the community, the information post, all that stuff.
And the reason
we're not there.
The reason I brought that up specifically, Mr. Capote, is because I want to make sure that my clients, this board, and any members of the public, as we conclude today's meeting, whatever time that happens to be, that there aren't folks operating on the premise that this document that you handed us all a copy of had some legal effect. Because I don't believe it does.
No, I would say to you, it probably doesn't. I'm asking you as a moral effect, and I can't find anything that says you can't do it. That's where I'm coming from.
Fair enough. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Bob. Question from the board, I guess, next. Thank you, Larry. I was just teasing you.
I am sorry about that.
That kind of is the...
Mr. Chairman, possibly council can look into it, but unless there's specifically a statute that indicates that these directors for this board or any board serves at the pleasure of the board of supervisors, I don't think we have any jurisdiction or authority along those lines. And in all the years I've been around, I've never heard of that. That may be just a kind of a quirk in the code. How you remove somebody after they've been appointed, I'm not aware of that.
I think my direction as chairman and judge, support me or not, is direction to the council to look into that and see if any of these things that Mr. Capote brought up.
Well, it would have to be a specific statute that gives the board discretionary power. And then as a follow-up to that, my question is, we've been listening to a lot of this discourse for weeks, if not months, and it's been going on for a period of time. At some point, would somebody please talk to the court and find out, the court decree is, the judge is the one that set out the expectations, and how that's being followed and implemented, I think at some point in time would be of interest to the judge. And I think that it seems like everybody and their brother wants to get involved in this thing, but nobody wants to talk to the judge about it. And I think the judge should have something to say about what is happening and not happening, and whether the court's perspective is being properly administered. And I think this board, in lieu of the fact that all the various parties out there are not engaging with the court, should possibly look at talking to the court directly, saying, what do you want?
Would that be appropriate for this board to get to the mediator or some sort to complete that task?
To complete which task?
To check with the judge.
She ain't going to just sit down and have a chit-chat over a cup of coffee about the Scissor River Water Decree. Sorry for my cheekiness. I apologize, but that's definitely not how it works. There is a court decree in place. There are parties to the action.
Probably should.
The only way it's going to happen is if somebody makes a motion or advances some process through the court process, and everybody gets notice of that, so everybody gets an opportunity to be present, be heard, and that's going to occur in an open courtroom and with somebody writing everything down, and that's, as I see it, the only way that that's going to occur. As it should.
Well, I'm asking for direction there.
No, I agree with what you said, Bob. I mean, we do not want to be part of this. I mean, the first meeting I ever come to when I sat on the board, this was on the agenda to appoint people. And no matter what we do, there's going to be political influence. We can appoint somebody in the back half of the room, the front half is going to be upset, and vice versa. And it's terrible. It's just a merry-go-round. It doesn't matter what we do. And that's why when we appoint the last four to get them going, they need to have their own elections, because no matter what we do, the next meeting, the next month, the other half's going to be in here talking again. It is not up to us. We don't want to be part of this water master service, and everybody keeps coming to us. It's not up to us. It's up to the water users. If they got a problem, go to the court and do it. Quit coming to us. So you guys have got to have your own elections. We're just on a merry-go-round here. I mean, it's just terrible to me. We need to stay out of this. I mean, any one of you or any group of you or whatever can go petition the court at any time. Go do it.
I think
One of the first things I said here is the RCD needs to get back to RCD issues. Get rid of the water master service. Get rid of it. It's killing the community over here, guys. It's killing it. How many people have been here and stood up at this podium and say, I have neighbors that have been lifelong friends with me, I'll never speak to again. This is killing you guys. It's killing you. RCD, get rid of the water master service, please. Quit coming back here and saying the same thing. It's just a merry-go-round. It's terrible. Go talk to Valley, do what Modock's doing up there it's in the big valley, it's Modock and Lassen, they'll get legislated. They have their own problems too. It's the same thing that you guys are experiencing here. Because I don't know how to do it, but this has gone on for too long, it's too deep, the divisions are too deep, and nobody wants to step in and take over the water master service. I can understand that, because you guys let this get too far out of hand. We need to stay the hell out of the board, period.
When I first got on this board, my first suggestion was elections, and we let an election cycle pass through. And you guys didn't do anything about it. You could have taken care of it then. What happened? It just keeps circling around right back to us every 3 months, 2 months, whatever month it is. Yeah.
You know, I would like to say to that, you're wrong. We had got it correct. It was on then. If you look at the grand jury thing, we were carrying that out, and the water master's issues were very complicated. Then the same group of people that do this political stuff came to you guys and forced the election, brought it back into the fold, and we end up with 2 new people that started the whole thing all over again. But it was fixed.
Mr. Batley.
The 2 people you put on the board never, in the 8 years that I was on the board, were ever at a meeting. You put 2 ringers in there, okay, with their own political agenda that support the 4 or 5 same people that cause all the problem, okay? And you started it again, okay? Those 2 people have never been to a board meeting. The first thing they do is come in and fire the water master 5 days before the season starts. They're there to fix it, all right.
Okay.
And they had no reason to fire him.
Anybody else have anything to add to this conversation? Seeing none, I think probably the RCD needs to contact the judge and see what the options are. So we can't do nothing.
We were advised the same thing that Mr. Burns brought up, that we can't just go to the judge and talk to her. We have to have the thing. It's happened here, folks. Like I said, the current RCD board has violated the state code and hurt the users. Now there is a basis to go to the court and say we need to have a fix. But the users are the ones that have to carry the ball.
Being that the RCD is the water master and was put there by the Superior Court, Judge Delarosa, I would assume she would answer a letter from the RCD to the water master.
Makes sense that they're...
I can't guarantee that proposition, Mr. Chairman. And I don't think that that's a safe assumption to leave the crowd with. There's a specific process by which the court will make statements, and I just don't want to have anybody laboring under that illusion before we leave on this issue.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else to add? Go in the back there. What's your name?
My name's Barbara White.
For the record, is all.
Excuse me?
I just need your name for the record.